Hello, I'm Ricky.
And I'm Joe, and this is Season 4, Episode 24 of the Beer and Broadband Podcast. It's slated to come out on December 27th, 2021. It is our New Year's episode. I'd have some like horns here, that sort of thing. But it's also the final episode of Season 4. So it's been a good run, some good topics for today, and, some good stuff to talk about. Since it's a New Year's episode, we're doing 3 alcohols this time. Our main alcohol is the Cinnamon Dolce Nitro Stout from Firestone Brewery in, is it in Colorado? Firestone Walker Brewing Company, and I don't know where they are. I believe it is 6% ABV. It is a cinnamon and vanilla spice nitro stout, and for some reason, it's California. Yeah, it's a California beer.
Okay.
So, you had your sip. What do you think?
Yeah, it's really good. I was very impressed with this. I mean, it is mellow and creamy, and you got these dark, like chocolatey caramel flavors to it. Some spice and vanilla. I mean, it's top notch. It's really good.
Of the 3 that I bought for the podcast, this last round of buying beers for the podcast, this has been my favorite, and I got it like a 6-pack. It's a really good Christmas beer too, I think.
Yeah, I might have to take a picture of that one. I might buy some of that for home.
Yeah, I thought you might like it. That was why I was saving it for last. It's kind of saving the best for last. And even though it's like a New Year's beer, it's also a Christmas beer sort of deal. So it's not too alcoholic. It's a good sipping beer, but it's also like something that's nice and you can just kind of sit back and chill with. Yeah, I like it. But that said, we made some other stuff, and for the last episode, we wanted to talk about some of those brews that we had made over the like last year or whatever. And you didn't help me make the spicy ginger mead, but I kind of made it with you in mind, but not with kindness in mind. It's more like I remember how much fun we had doing the spicy beer that we did, the jalapeno beer. So I was like, what if we made a cayenne pepper ginger mead and just saw how that kind of like worked out. So this ginger mead is 9.5% ABV. I do believe that it went completely dry. I'll just double check that real quick. I had it. There it is. It was made with Lalvin 71B yeast. It went down to 1, so it went dry. It didn't go completely dry. It still has a little bit of sugar in it, but it's the ginger mead, recipe. But I took some a cayenne pepper, split it open, put it in like the wrap, took all the seeds out and everything. But then I infused some vodka with the seeds of this, and at the end I kind of dumped the vodka in. I mean, it was just like a thimble full of vodka, but so it's got the spice from the seeds, it's got the spice from the ginger. It's a little hot. I know that. I haven't had it in the last week, but when I bottled it, I tried it. So
yeah, but it's like a good hot. I mean, it doesn't overpower the ginger. Like the spiciness from the cayenne never takes away from the ginger flavor. It just makes it stick on your tongue a lot longer.
It gives you like a little extra kick, right? I kind of like it. It also adds like there's like a flavor from the cayenne, because I smoked the cayenne pepper, or I dried it before I used it. And it was cayenne pepper from our garden. But I kind of want to try this with Thai chili, because Thai chili has a unique flavor.
Yeah.
I think this would be a really fun mead to make, like a really large batch of.
Yeah, I was thinking like this would be really good, like large batch, carbonated in something like a keg, and like you're having a cookout or you're having some friends over.
It would be so dangerous in a keg though, because you don't think it's 9.5% because it's so sippable.
Yeah, I mean, especially after you carbonate it and all that.
Yeah,
but that's kind of spirit of the season. Like you go out to a barbecue, it would fit really well with it.
I agree. I kind of want to make some fish or some chicken with braised in this and just see like what that would do.
Mm-hmm.
Because I did modify this. Instead of just using plain water, I used pineapple juice.
Okay.
So that's why you get that little bit of extra citrus.
Some extra enzyme in there, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it came out amazing.
Mm.
I've been very happy with this, and it's so clear. Like, it's not hazy at all.
Mm-hmm.
You can just see stuff through it. Right?
Yeah, it's got a really good smell to it. You can smell it until it's hot.
Yeah.
It's not as hot as it smells, but it's a good flavor. I'm a little on the fence about fish, but I could definitely see chicken, especially some like skinless chicken. You get like some chicken breast or something like that. You're gonna do like either some sort of citrus or Latin dish with it. Yeah, absolutely. Let it marinate in that for a little while.
So I'm thinking about something more like what is the name of that dish? Where you take like a citrus thing and you put fish parts like mussels and
Oh, you're about like ceviche?
ceviche. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Something
Okay.
that's like ceviche, like making something like that.
Yeah,
I could see that being really good.
you'd have to add a lot more like lemon or something into it, but yeah, I could see this being like on top of that.
Yeah, just adding it to the mix.
Or letting it marinate in that before you put it in the acid that's going to cook it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. You marinate it in this, and then or like if you did like a catfish, and like marinated the catfish in this,
Yeah.
and then took and fried your catfish.
Yeah,
or
As we were talking about, I was wondering like you could use this instead of water in like a batter for fish.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, something like that. I could just see that being like it gives it just enough punch without being like heartburn terrible. And cayenne normally gives me such bad heartburn.
Yeah, I mean you're right in that it's the same level of heat you want in a dish that's just like a little bit spicy.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean it is essentially like I wouldn't call it like mild chili, but like that kind of medium chili where it's like, oh, I want something with some spice, but I don't want it to be like super spicy. It's that level of heat.
Yep. So I'm gonna wait to talk about the pumpkin mead, but that is coming up until after we talk about our next topic. If
Okay.
that's all right with you. Mostly because I want to kind of clear out some of the flavor of that last thing.
Yeah.
So, aside from it being the last episode of the season, I threw in something that I actually is not a joke science article. It's talking about the next kind of like evolution of storage, and we saw this in the like 80s and 70s with hard drives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hard drives came out. It's like a 1 megabyte hard drive, and it's super slow, and you can only move kilobytes to it per second on a very slow serial bus. But that technology iterated so fast.
Yeah.
Like super fast. Well, recently, the developers of light storage, like crystal light storage and laser light storage, have been able to successfully store like something on a crystal platter, essentially, with light. And that's huge. I mean, that's like, CD technology to the next level.
Yeah.
Right. There's also a thing with like magnetic storage that did a similar thing, but it couldn't achieve the density of storage that light storage could. So we're talking about like 50 petabytes on like a disk that would fit inside of my Apple Watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Insane storage opportunities. It's not an episode if one of us doesn't bump the mic. I'm always the one bumping the mic. Well, no, that's not true. You do it sometimes.
That's true. Occasionally.
But the thing about it to me that like really struck home to me is like a year ago, I think we talked about this, or maybe 2 years ago we talked about this, and the storage capacity was a little bit lower, but the speeds were so much slower. Like, I mean, it would take like 1 million years, to fill up the capacity or something like that. Or maybe 14 million years or something like that. Something that would be like a ridiculous amount. The Earth would be gone by then, is what they predicted. But now, maybe within the lifetime of the Earth, you could like actually fill up petabytes of storage of data. I think it was like 50 petabytes or something like that in the article. It's insane, man.
Yeah.
It's insane. And you know, you can finally hold all of your Steam games on your, which is kind of the way that they.
Yeah, I
they
was gonna
like,
say as soon as you get the petabytes, you start getting the terabyte video games.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're already getting like half a terabyte video games now.
Oh yeah, I mean, I watch my wife who watches this. I think his name is Twitch Up, a YouTube channel, and one of the things he rates games on is how big they are. So you know, you get to see him be like, yeah, and this one's 120 gigs. I'm like, wow, 120 gigs for that.
That's
Doesn't
crazy.
Look, yeah, it doesn't look like that should be 120 gigs. And then like, oh, updates come out because the way they're packaged. Well, it's an 80 gigabyte update.
Yeah.
You know, it'll happen. Well, as soon as it's available enough, we'll start seeing those terabyte video games.
But you know, it's because the optimization is poor,
optimization is low,
and they're using these high res digital files to be able to push down to these devices. If there's ever a call for like streaming for a video game, which I'm not in favor of necessarily, high res files, that's one of them. I mean, talking about texture maps and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're talking about they've got like the piece of trash that's on the ground is like 8K for some reason. You know, I love looking at these all these indie games that come out, and they do some for like professional games that do modding. But it's like, oh, here's the performance enhancer. You know, get 30 more frames per second by using this texture pack, and you get in there and it looks identical. You can't tell a difference.
They just optimized it.
Yeah, they just optimized it. They're like, hey, why does this rock that's about an inch on screen need to be 8K? I don't think it needs to be 8K. Let's make that, 2K.
Yeah.
And it was just still a great resolution for something you're never going to stare at. And you just like really never notice.
I mean, even with lossless, compression, the fact that you have something on there that is just compressed.
Oh yeah.
Instead of uncompressed.
Oh yeah. That's a fun one I see for indie games. People will like repack them. It's like, oh, the original game was 2 gigs and the new compressed download is like 150 megs.
Yeah. Because they finally like figured out how to optimize. And I mean, I think that is, if we're going into the development route, just like, I hesitate to call myself a developer. I am a guy who knows a little bit about development. I have some certifications. I'm a network engineer. You're a developer, right? Well, I'm an architect. I'm not really just a network engineer, but I'm like, my background is in network engineering, right? And building computers and things like that. But as a person who knows enough about this to kind of understand how these things go, that is one of the prices that we pay for this like agile, continual integration kind of thing, is that what you get at the beginning is just the unfiltered garbage that exists, and then it gets refined as it goes along. But oftentimes what I see happening is it gets refined until about the middle of its life cycle, and then it just gets dropped. Yeah. And they never finish the refinement so that it's a continued finished product that is just the best that it could be.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. And it really depends on the application. And I think that's the thing with Agile, that while for big software, it is incredibly helpful because you generally have millions of customers. And, not every one of those millions of customers is going to make your feature request. In fact, I think probably less than 1 in 100 makes a feature request.
Right.
But if you've got 1 million users and it's even just, 1 in 100, that's still thousands of feature requests for you to go through. And you've always got these people coming in with ideas of what they want the software to be. If you're a smaller studio or some IT shop or something like that.
Even if you're a bigger studio, you generally don't have the resources that you would think that a bigger studio would have.
Oh, yeah, but I guess what I was getting at is the whole point of Agile is you get to that MVP, and then you let feature requests come in. But if you don't have a large enough audience, those feature requests don't come in.
Right.
So there becomes that conflict of like, I know as the developer, we should have this feature. And maybe that's not a minimum viable product feature, but nobody's going to request it if I don't request it because I don't have enough people using this tool. Even though I know it would help them, if my tool has 100 users, maybe I only ever get 1 feature request,
It almost feels like there should be a waterfall or a agile fall or something like that exists, because while waterfall's a little bit too slow to do this like really fast turnaround like kind of stuff, and you really kind of have to do that to stay competitive, you also need something that has quality in mind.
Yeah.
And if you aren't willing to make something that's of quality for your customer, even if you know that they're not necessarily asking for like the most quality out of this thing, that's probably a problem for people that are your customer's customer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I going back to the 5D storage though, I'm kind of excited
Yeah,
about it.
it's interesting stuff.
Yeah, we went off on a tangent about programming, just in case
okay.
anybody didn't notice. The fun stuff that we do, even when we're not on the podcast, we kind of have these conversations all the time. Sometimes I'll call Ricky up and say, "Hey, I was being grumpy today, and I need to talk to you about this." And we'll get on a phone call, and then he'll say, "Oh yeah, have all this like great calming advice," which is what Ricky does really well. But in the end, the conclusion ultimately is, this has something to do with process, or this has something to do with some sort of nerdy thing that we really care about and other people just don't give a junk about, right? So we have these conversations, which makes me laugh a little bit. I don't know if it brings humor to you, but it's for some
It does.
reason.
I mean, it opens your eyes doing that stuff long enough that you realize that most of the problems you're going to face in life are not really a problem with like expectations or what gets delivered or what actually happens. It's that journey. It's the process. Even if you do something that's ultimately amazing, if you've got a bad process for it, you're going to hate doing it.
Yeah.
And same thing that like if you've got a bad process, it's going to be hard to get that result that's actually good. So, always look at trying to optimize those things.
Very true. So I'm going to move on to the pumpkin mead. And the pumpkin mead, I got a toast for you, man.
Mm-hmm.
So we have been doing this for, after this episode airs, 6 years.
Wow. It doesn't feel like 6 years.
6 years, man. Can you imagine that? And the reason it's episode 4 going into episode 5 instead of, or season 4 going into season 5 instead of season 6 going into season 7, or season 5 going into season 6. Man, I got that all wrong. Let me try that again. The reason it's season 4 going into season 5 instead of season 5 going into season 6 is because our first season was 2 years long.
Yeah, our first season was a ton of episodes. I remember how many.
Well, we did one a week instead of doing like a season and then taking a break and then doing like half a season.
Yeah, we did like almost 100 episodes.
Yeah, it was like a crazy amount. And, for everybody that listens to us, we just really appreciate it. And, I just want to give you a toast, man, for sticking through with it. And like, this has been good. And I think this might be one of the best brews that we've done together. So I wanted to end on this. And kind of look back at like what we've done and where we're hoping to go. So give us some tasting notes, man.
This is not bad at all. It's a little young still, which I mean, obviously, we just kind of pulled it out. But
we just bottled this today.
It almost tastes like a sweet potato / pumpkin pie. Like it's got that fleshy, kind of like melony vegetal flavor to it. That sweetness from the honey. A little bit of spice to it. As someone who has just got done eating like 3 different pumpkin pies, it's pretty good. Like it lands right there.
This is what, from a standpoint of someone who loves pumpkin pie and loves butternut squash and loves like squash and things like that. Like I grew up, like my grandfather would, like make squash. I'd eat squash. And just that flavor reminds me so much of my childhood, and then the pumpkin pies, just having that delicious cinnamony flavor. And I've never seen you knock back a drink like that. It's that good.
It was pretty good.
He had 2 ounces roughly, and he just killed it. Now this is like a 13.5% ABV. So the fact that you can just kill it like that, also
it's very sippable.
It's so smooth and sippable, right? I just love this stuff. If anyone is like, I want to get into making a mead, and I want to make something that's a little bit more complex than just a traditional mead, this is the one to make right here. Yeah, Nothing else.
That's really good. And you put like a little bit of like a horchata or a Irish whiskey with that to get that creaminess in there.
Oh yeah,
that is a pumpkin pie right there.
exactly. I mean, I was actually thinking of did a thing where you made like a milk punch out of something like this, where basically you take something that's a little bit more acidic, you put some milk into it, and then you strain it through a thing to get all the curds out, and it comes out clear. That would be really good.
Would be very good.
So it makes like kind of a liqueur out of this like 14% ABV kind of deal. I'm thinking about making one of those like when we start up the next season.
Yeah,
just
I could see
introducing it. This is the after Christmas episode. But for, where we've been, and I realize that we don't have like everybody, in the world that listens to us, but we went from like a channel that had like 3 or 4 people that subscribed, and we've got some people out there that are patrons, and we really appreciate you guys. We were running off USB mics before on like a software mixer, and now we have like a real mixer with some real XLR mics that sound pretty good, and that's why we're always bumping them, is because we didn't have some of the equipment before, so we're not like kind of used to it. But everything sounds so much better now. We still haven't like perfectly perfected the volume of the mixer yet, but like things have grown here, and maybe not as fast as other podcasts, but this is for a hobby and for fun.
Yeah.
And so I'm really proud of how far we've gotten in 5 years. If we make it another like 5.5 years, that's going to be pretty cool. Like where we are.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I think in that time. And so, looking back over the seasons, I think some of my favorite episodes, because every now and then, like I kind of like think about this stuff. The one where I drank the Hopamus Maximus Laguntus beer, and I kept drinking it, and you said, "Why are you still drinking that?" And I'm like, "Because I want to punish myself." And the one where we had Thomas on. That was a lot of fun. The first time we had some of Dave's beer when he sent us the Deschutes Abyss, that was really good. So, like good times over the last, and the old apartment, like sitting around in the chairs, like where we had like the one single mic between us, and then we were sharing 2 mics. That was kind of fun.
Oh yeah. I remember battling the AC.
Yeah.
Every time the AC would turn on, we had to wait a little bit.
Yeah, that was all, because it was so loud. I mean, even in here, you kind of hear it, and I've got a fan going and everything, but you don't really hear it up here, right? So.
It's not the predominant noise in the room.
It's been a journey. So, like, what are some of your favorite moments from Beer and Broadband?
I really liked a lot of the brewing episodes in like season 1. That was a lot of fun, where we would like make something like on, not camera, but like on whatever you call it,
on voice.
Yeah. Those were really fun. I enjoyed a lot of the what was it? We talked to a lot of those like free form episodes. Like I've told you, have always kind of been my favorite. We just kind of see where the conversation takes us. Those were always like really fun. I don't know how those were to listen to, but in terms of being the people doing the conversation, those were always a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think those are my favorite episodes to do.
And I really liked the ones we did this season, where it was like the comparisons, like the wine and the headsets and stuff like that. That was kind of fun to have that little interactive thing to do. See where do we land. I loved that as much as we listened to these headsets, neither you or me could get a single one of them right when we put them behind that amp.
Oh, you're talking about the CD players. Yeah. So not the headsets, but the CD players behind the fiber, or not the fiber. It wasn't an amp. It was just the line out.
Just the line out.
Just the line out. Yeah. Just doing that through a line out over a RCA cable. Not even a fiber optic cable. Not a Toslink, but a line out over like your standard just copper cable. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. The things that always amaze me are I spend a lot of time like investing in learning about this stuff, and I can tell you so much about the oils and everything like that, but if you stick 2 wines in front of me that I have to pick which one's which, I can tell you which one I like more. I can tell you about the flavor profile and everything, but I can't. I have no idea which one's which.
Yeah.
Even ones that I drink all the time, I have no idea which one's which. So that either means that I'm not really educating myself, or I need to go to sommelier school.
I think it's the difference between education and application, right? Like,
It's true.
I watch a lot of people and I learn a lot about building things. Like, I'm really big into these like survival technology things. But you put me in the woods, I know how to make a stone axe. I've seen people do it. I know the process behind it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to successfully be able to craft it because I've not got no experience like actually like hands on. And I think that's the thing with like the wine. It's like, okay, yeah, I know a lot about alcohol. I know what flavor profiles to think about, but now that it's like on my tongue and I'm like trying to differentiate them, those changes are so minor. It's hard to pick up.
Yeah, exactly. I think, though, that we have some good topics for the next season now that we're talking about our look back, because we could do some more freeform episodes, and we didn't do any this season. I think just because oh wow, that was loud. Just because I kind of planned some things. Windows was being Windows and really weird for a moment there, but I kind of planned some things out because I wanted to do the CD player content. But I also think we might have a chance to do a Zune off. Zune versus Apple, the ultimate MP3 player.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe I'll get like a FIO or a Sony MK MP3 player, and we can compare like the three different types and see if one of us can pick one out over like a
yeah.
RCA
That could be fun.
switcher. Because I don't think we would have optical line out on those. Of course, if people really like the CD player content, I could also get some like more. I don't want to say legendary because I don't think I have the thousands of dollars to get the legendary ones. But I could get some more like really cool CD players. And also, I have plans. You see over there, I've got the stack setting up. I have plans to like build that out so that there's like a table there.
Okay.
And like, so maybe I'll have a listening station for one of us to like sit there and control the other, so that you can't even see the person that's controlling it. They're just kind of behind you. Yeah. So that like there's some options for us to do some fun stuff. So yeah, I think season 5, really season 6, but season 5 of Beer and Broadband is going to have some fun brews, because I am definitely making this pumpkin mead again. I don't know about
absolutely.
you,
It's
but
great.
dude, I'm going to figure out a way to add some lactic acid to this, and I'm going to make a pumpkin pie mead.
Yeah, I think you could. I mean, in all honesty, that might just be all it takes, is get a little lactic acid in there.
Yeah, to add that creaminess. Oh, man, that just would be so good. And then we can compare like the two meads together. I almost kind of want to like make it like tomorrow.
Yeah, so they'll age around the same time.
Yeah, so that they'll age within a month of each other or 2 months of each other. And ooh, that could be a thing we do during the break.
Yeah,
make
that'd be
another
fun.
Viking blood clone and another one of these.
See it.
And a coffee mill and a spicy ginger.
And everything.
and everything. Yeah, so like I kind of really want to do that. So yeah, I'm excited about what's going to come up next. And barring some sort of crazy pandemic doesn't stop us from being able to do it in person again. We'll be able to continue doing this in person. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next 5 years. It's been a fun journey, man. I couldn't imagine doing this with anybody else and it'd be like as much fun. Most people just don't have like the insight that you do.
Yeah, well, it's been really enjoyable always around.
Yeah.
Good company, good drinks. It's hard for that to go wrong.
That's true. Maybe next time we'll talk about some more D&D stuff, because we've got a campaign that we're going through that could end up being like a thing. But speaking of that, we're kind of late, so we should go.
Oh, yeah.
So this has been Season 4, Episode 24. Happy New Year of the Beer and Broadband podcast. It's for December 27th, 2021, but that's right before New Year's. So hopefully, if you're listening to this, you're listening to it on New Year's at midnight as the ball drops. I really don't expect that.
Sync
from
up the
anyone.
video, sync up the audio.
Yeah, there will be there's nothing that comes after this that would be like good. But this is our final episode of season 4. We'll be back sometime in the spring with some more brews, some more tech talk, and some more just weird nerd stuff, for you to listen to. Otherwise, thanks for listening. Thanks so much for supporting us, and we'll catch you next year.